Hey campers, P and I here. In this episode, you'll hear 3 of the most frightening campfire stories ever told. They are extremely terrifying. You have been warned.
The thing beyond Devil's Pass. Ty and Logan were the kind of guys who needed the wild. Every fall, they picked a spot deep in the Rockies, somewhere off trail. No cell signal, no civilization for miles. This time, it was Devil's Pass, a narrow stretch of alpine wilderness no one talked much about. Not even the locals. When they asked around, a store clerk in the nearest town just muttered, "Things don't come back from there." They laughed it off, brought extra rations, then hiked 12 miles into the pines, found a ridge above a remote lake, and set up camp. That first night, they sat by the fire, watching the stars blink to life. Way more than you would ever see in the city. But then they noticed something strange. Something was moving in the trees. Black. Dark. It zigzagged fast, then stopped, then disappeared. "Animal?" Logan asked. Ty just stared. "I've never seen an animal move like that." They went to bed uneasy. At 3:13 a.m., Logan woke up to a low humming vibration, deep, reverberating through the ground. Then came the sound, a high-pitched frequency, accompanied by a loud clicking noise like an insect would make, pulsating through the air around the camp. A foreboding warning, like nothing either of them had ever heard. Ty darted out of the tent. Logan scrambled outside behind him and saw something descending. It wasn't a craft. It wasn't man-made. It was alive. A tall, dark creature with 2 legs, 4 arms, leathery green skin, and a head like a praying mantis. Long, stilt-like legs that touched the ground without a sound. Ty ran. The thing followed with incredible speed. It just appeared where it wanted to be, skipping space like it was flipping pages in a book. Logan frantically searched for a weapon, but the next moment, he heard Ty scream, cut short like someone hitting a switch. When he turned around, he saw Ty, floating, limbs stretched unnaturally, eyes wide and vacant. The thing had wrapped an arm around him and proceeded to peel him open like a fruit. A horrifying scene from nightmares. It was devouring him, eating him alive. Logan ran for 9 straight hours. Through rivers, over rocks, lost his boots, broke a finger, nearly froze. But he didn't stop until he saw the highway. He flagged down a trucker and collapsed. When the rangers and rescue team went to Devil's Pass, they found nothing. No camp, no gear, no blood, no Ty. After a day or so of looking, they gave up the search. After recovering no bodies and no evidence of what had happened, Then Logan remembered what the store clerk had said before their trip on the way in. Things don't come back from there. She was right. Things didn't come back from there. Ty didn't come back from there. But for some reason, Logan had. Logan doesn't talk much anymore, just stares at the sky. He says it wasn't from outer space. It was already here, buried in the mountains, waiting for someone to wander close enough. And he fears, someday, it's coming back to finish the meal.
Okay, campers, so you've made it this far, but it's not over yet. We are just getting started.
The Thing at Hemlock Ridge. They say Hemlock Ridge was cursed. Even the animals wouldn't settle there. No birdsong, no crickets at night. But the McAllister family didn't believe in curses. They just wanted to get away. The old log cabin had been in the family for generations, unused for years, but still standing strong among the towering trees. It was supposed to be a quiet weekend. Mom, Dad, and their 2 kids, Abby, 14, and Jake, 9. They arrived on a Friday afternoon. The sun was shining, and the forest looked peaceful enough. But as they unpacked, Jake wandered to the edge of the tree line and found something odd. A footprint. Not a bear's. Way too big. At least 18 inches long, deep in the soil, toes like a human, only thicker, wider, like a giant. Must be a hoax, Dad said. Probably some hiker with big boots. But Jake didn't think so. Neither did Abby. That night, something screamed in the forest. Not an animal, not a coyote or a bobcat. This was deep, guttural, and long, like something ancient, something angry. The next morning, they found claw marks on the side of the cabin. 4 deep gouges, 6 feet off the ground. Dad tried to laugh it off. All wood cracks in weird ways, he said. But Jake noticed the footprints again, fresh, circling the cabin this time. And something else. Tufts of hair stuck in the bark of a nearby tree. Dark brown, coarse, reeking of rot. That night, they barricaded the doors. Mom held Abby close. Jake sat with his baseball bat clutched in his lap. Dad loaded the old musket that hung over the fireplace. The forest was silent again until 2:13 a.m. Thump, thump, thump. Something was walking around the cabin. Slow, deliberate. It circled twice, then stopped by the front door. They heard it sniffing, the creak of the porch boards under its weight. Then came the scratching. Long, slow, deliberate scratches on the wood just beneath the window. Abby peeked through the curtain, just a sliver. What she saw, her brain couldn't process it at first. Eyes, reflective, red, A towering silhouette, almost 8 feet tall, covered in matted fur, its shoulders hunched, its arms long. Too long. Its hand reached up, 5 thick fingers, claws, and it pressed its face to the glass. It grinned. But the worst part, it had teeth like a man. Dad fired through the window. The thing didn't even flinch. It vanished into the trees, quiet as smoke. By morning, the woods looked untouched. No blood, no tracks, no creature. The McAllisters left everything behind. They never spoke of that night again. But sometimes, campers near Hemlock Ridge say they hear footsteps outside their tents, or red eyes between the trees. And if you're real quiet, like you are now, you might hear it breathing. Still out there, still watching, still grinning.
Alright, campers. So the big hairy guy didn't scare you away. But will you make it to the end? This next one is horrifying. Good luck!
The Witch of Cold Pine Creek. There used to be a Girl Scout troop called Troop 6849, out of a small town in northern Washington. 5 girls, bold, chatty, and just rebellious enough to make things interesting. One summer weekend, they went on a camping trip deep in the woods near Cold Pine Creek, a place barely marked on maps, where the trees grew too close together and the air always felt damp, even when the sun was out. Their troop leader, Miss Calloway, picked a clearing beside the creek. As she unpacked the gear, the girls wandered off and stumbled upon something odd, an old cabin, sagging under vines and moss. It looked like it had been forgotten for a century. On the porch stood a woman. She was impossibly still, tall, thin, wrapped in tattered layers of black. Her eyes were so pale they looked almost white, like peeled grapes. The girls whispered and giggled. One called her Creepy Karen, another pretended to limp like her. One girl even took a picture and threw a pine cone towards the porch. The woman said nothing. She only smiled, slow and cracked, like her face hadn't moved in years. That night, the woods changed. Addison was the first to go silent. One moment she was laughing. The next, her voice just stopped. Not like she lost it, like something had taken it. When she opened her mouth, only silence came out. Her lips moved, but no sound. The other girls laughed at first, until they saw the look in her eyes. The next day, strange scratches appeared on the trees around the camp. They weren't animal marks, they were symbols, carved deep, glowing faintly in the early morning light. By the second night, things got worse. One girl, Maya, tried to drink from her water bottle, but it was filled with ash. Another found her sleeping bag crawling with spiders, though no one else could see them. but they all heard the whistling. It came every night, just before 3 a.m., high-pitched and slow, like an old lullaby. The firewood wouldn't light. The stars vanished from the sky. The woods fell dead silent and stayed that way until dawn. Then Miss Calloway disappeared. Gone. No sign of a struggle. Just a trail of wet footprints leading into the forest. That night, the creek turned black. One girl woke up with mud in her lungs. Another swore she saw something watching them from the trees, tall and shadow thin, its head tilted just like the woman on the porch. The last girl to survive was Elena. She ran at sunrise, didn't pack, didn't look back, just sprinted through the trees until she found a road. A truck driver picked her up shaking, filthy, barefoot. She couldn't speak for days. When she finally could, all she said was, "We shouldn't have laughed at her." The others were never found. Their tents were empty, and their names carved into the trees in the same strange symbols. And hikers still say Cold Pine Creek isn't right. The air is too thin, too still. Time feels off. Some hear whistling where there shouldn't be any. And once, just once, our campers swore they saw a tall, pale woman in black watching them from across the water. She smiled, but she didn't move. She just faded away.
Well done, campers, you survived. Hope you enjoyed. Comment if you made it to the end of this video. Thanks for watching. Happy camping!